Well, hello everyone. Carrie Beck here with How to Homeschool My Child. And today we are talking about 3 tips for moms homeschooling kids to finish strong. One of my goals in this particular session is to just help give you some confidence so that you have a proven plan to finish homeschooling strong this year. A lot of you, February burnout is real and you want to move forward, and we need a little help sometimes. I'm going to move my computer just a little further back so I can see my notes, and then we will get started. Let's just talk about this. Do you ever wonder? Well, that's the next slide. Is it? See if you can relate. Leave something in the chat if you can. Do you ever wonder if you're doing enough activities or if you're even doing the right activities in your homeschool? Do you wish you could look into the future, put those future lenses on, and know for sure your kids are going to be okay with what you're doing right now? Some of you may be wondering, how do I help my kids make wise decisions and not follow the crowds? I know last week in the Life Skills Leadership Summit, several of you were wondering that exact thing. So, or do you wonder how to keep oh wait, you're, sorry, not reading. Are you hoping to change your kids' complaining attitude into enjoying learning? No matter where you are in the right place. And I forgot to give y'all the link to the handout, so I'm going to type that in the chat right now. If someone asks for it and they get here late, someone could just copy it and give it to them. But that's a handout that'll give you some ideas, places for you to be able to write in thoughts about what we're talking about as we go. Today, what I really want to do is show you a proven plan. I want you to get rid of the bad attitudes with your homeschooling kids. Move from tired and exhausted homeschool to learning for a lifetime as you finish the year strong. Even if you homeschool year round, our class can still give you ideas to find the right activities to raise your kids to lead and think for themselves. And we're going to talk about leadership some because some people think, well, my kid's not going to be the president or CEO. Well, leadership is more than that. And it really comes down all the way down into our homes and into our families. So I hope y'all are as excited as I am. You can put something in the chat if you are. Today, you're going to discover the major shift that moms can make to quit following the public school model and give your kids what they need to love learning for a lifetime. Give you a fresh perspective, give you something that will help you be more consistent. The number one activity for moms to use in parenting, homeschooling, and letting go. So your kids are ready for adult life and become a leader for Jesus Christ. And so you can stop worrying. The easiest way to inspire a love of learning, this is so simple. You can use it from preschool to high school, and it works all the time. And then we have some other fresh ideas as well. We're going to talk about finishing strong, developing critical thinking skills in any subject or life skill area that can encourage your kids to think and make wise decisions. And then I like to always sprinkle some real life examples of homeschooling with confidence along the way. So let's fill your bucket before we finish the end. Now, I will tell you, if you stay with me until the end and decide to work with me in raising your kids to lead instead of follow, to lead and impact others for Jesus, I'm going to give you the opportunity to get your hands on a special bonus that I added to my Racing Leaders course. I'll give you all the details at the end of class. Now, I will say this, I have a little giveaway. These are surprises throughout the class, and it's verses and prayers to pray for your kids. Well, that's what I wrote down, but the picture is don't worry. So, how about we give you both of them? We'll give you the one praying for your kids, and then your don't worry prayers for moms and dads too. Super easy. You just print them out, cut out the strips of the verses, and then you actually can put them wherever it's easy for you to see and you to pray as well. And I see some of y'all complaining, oh yeah, and struggling to find ways to encourage. One of the things that came up when I took a survey last week is love of learning, finding ways to really make that easy. Well, if you want to win one of these, you just leave a comment in the chat, and every once in a while I will pick a winner. All right, now let's get here. No distractions. Turn off your cell phone unless you're watching on your cell phone. Shut down the other windows or on your computer. Close any extra devices. And if possible, I know it's not always easy, but maybe if you can shut the door and really concentrate. So again, the handout is at howtohomeschoolmychild.com/strong handout. If someone's looking for it, maybe one of my early birds can copy that into the chat. All right, we're going to start with mentoring because I think one of the things we need to do is take a step back and figure out what stage are we in our parenting, in our homeschooling. The first stage of mentoring is to model and nurture. And the reason I have cookies there is a lot of times when you're baking cookies, especially with young kids, you are doing most of the work and they're just coming along, putting the sprinkles on. And so you are baking cookies. We model all day long. My mom is 87 years old. She still models things to me. I have watched her be a grandma. I'm now watching her be a great grandma. And so I will continue to watch her. You are modeling something for your kids all day long. One of the things we actually did model well was saying thank you. And my kids, after we reminded them for a few years when they were young, we ended up being able to, they would just say thank you naturally. And I hear them saying thank you right now as well. And so you are modeling something for your kids. That is the first one. You're doing most of the work, they're watching. The next one is teaching and equipping. And we're not going to dive too much into this one because this is what everyone helps homeschool moms. How do you teach this, that, or the other? How do you equip them to take this test or that test? But teaching is math and science and language arts, but it could also be how to change the oil, how to study the Bible. And you're going to move from teaching, and they're doing more of the work. And then the final stage is coaching and developing. A coach develops his players. He plans the drills and the strategies and the tactics. I don't know that I've ever seen a coach in a baseball game hit a home run or throw the ball as a pitcher. They are in the dugout or on the sidelines, getting the kids and the team ready to go. He prepares his players to play the game. You are preparing your kids to play the game of life. So I do believe this is age appropriate. That those teenage years, you should be cutting a lot of those apron strings and you should be doing mostly coaching and developing your kids and giving them a chance to take ownership and leadership in their education. We'll talk about how you can do that as well. And sometimes we have to let our kids actually fall on their face when they're still at home so you can walk with them to get back on their feet. Now, looking at these three, put something in the chat and let me know which one of these stages you're in. And you may be in more than one. And some of you, if you've got a 12th grader and a first grader, you're probably in more than one. But if you had to pick one, where are you really focusing right now? Um, And you might write it on a post-it note and put it on your bathroom mirror, by the bedside table, or in the kitchen so that you can remember this is my focus. We've got teach and equip, coach and develop, model and teach, coach and develop, model and nurture, teach. We got lots of them in everywhere. All right, well, let me do this. Okay, Cassie, you have just won our first book, our ebook on prayers for moms and prayers for kids. You can either send me a DM here or you can send me an email, but just let me know you won the prayers book from the master class. So I would say put it on a post-it note, put down which area it is and one way you think you can improve in that type of mentoring this week. Put it where you plan your lessons, somewhere where you can see it on a regular basis. And you should be able to get more ideas through the class as well. So you are in the right place if you're a stay-at-home mom who is homeschooling multiple ages or an only child as you cook, clean, chauffeur, and all the other tasks required of you. You're following the school model and it just isn't working. You are overwhelmed and you need a new direction. Or maybe you're a working mom trying to balance your home and homeschool duties with work. Whether you work at home or outside the home, you're looking for ways to manage your time and still give your kids the best education possible. You may be a Christian parent who wants Jesus to be the center of your family and your homeschool, but you're stressed out, especially with your kids' attitude. Or maybe you're a grandma. I think we do have some. Some of you already mentioned that. We have more and more grandmas homeschooling their grandkids. And you've got, whether you're just homeschooling, but some of you may have the whole 100% all day long, 24/7 responsibility for your grandkids. You're in the right place. Let me know again in the chat, which one or ones are you? That would sort of help me as well. Because no matter which one describes you, I want to support you and I've got ideas to help you, I believe. So there we go. And as you do that, I'm going to introduce my family. I never really did this well last time. So well, let's see if I can get my little mouse here. This is our oldest, Ashley. She is married to Jesse. I was just over there Saturday and Sunday. They have Faith, our oldest granddaughter, and Elizabeth. Ashley was willing to do things outside the box while she was growing up. In fact, she went to a Christian school through fourth grade. And one of the questions on that last year, there's a picture of a church, and there's some sentences about George Washington, and it said, "Why is George Washington a Christian?" And her answer was, "I don't know. I don't know if he believes in Jesus as his savior." And the teacher said, "No, you need to do that one again." And so she did it again and wrote something similar. And the teacher said, "No, I want you to do that again." I said, "Ashley, let's just write what the teacher wants." Now, we're at a Christian school. And basically, they wanted to say, because he paid and donated the pews for the church. Well, that is a result of being a Christian, but that isn't what makes you a Christian. She was already thinking outside the box. She got her college degree in a year and a half to 2 years. She started her own business with her daddy right here and in high school. And they sold reloading supplies for shotguns because she was a 4-H state champion in skeet shooting. Gentry, where is Gentry? Here's Gentry. She's married to, they're all separated over here to Andrew. They have Landry and Sloan. Sloan's a 1 year old now, and it was Deacon's cowboy birthday. So we're all sort of dressed in boots and hats and all. Gentry's just sort of a natural leader. Her friends naturally followed her. When she was in high school, she played sports with the public school, basketball and basketball and softball. She won the Bear Award, I think, for both of those sports, and it was voted on both the coaches um, and the kids, the girls on the team. She was she was the only homeschooler. She was a captain her junior and senior year for both of those. And so she was a natural leader. Hunter is the baby. I finally get to have a class where he's married. He's married to Brittany. They got married last May. And he was always asking questions, raising his hands at the table. And I believe all three of them are leaders in the area of life that they've been called to be whether that's in work, in parenting, whatever. You see, a leadership, or leaders are influencers, nothing more, nothing less. They took ownership skills in their high school years. They chose subjects. Ashley and Gentry took an astronomy class, and that is on their transcript. Hunter had his own business. They just did a lot of different things. I actually have a master's in curriculum instruction, but I have learned more about education as a homeschool mom than anything. And so I will tell you, not all the time was a great time in homeschool. We had ups and we had downs. And I was having a hard time figuring it out when we first started. I can relate to you. If some of y'all have told me about your kids' attitudes in the chat over there, you know, between Charlotte Mason and classical and unit studies, which one do I follow? It was about 5 years into our 10 years of homeschooling that I did discover something called leadership education, but it was not from a Christian perspective. I still had to figure it out on my own. And I want to help you so you don't need to figure it out by yourself. And I'm getting to also do it all over again with my grandkids. So that's sort of fun as well. Now, can you imagine, and tell me in the chat what it would be like if you, what it would be like to enjoy homeschooling together without all the attitude from your kids, to grow relationships with your kids instead of putting out fires, to have peace and confidence that what you're doing is enough and the right activities, and to have a clear picture of where you are headed, and you would know that they are going to be okay. Sometimes I always was like, God, could you just tell me, like, write it down on a piece of paper exactly what I need to do. My ideal is for us to enjoy learning together. It would be heaven. And, I'm really serious. Some days are great. And if you listen to speakers and they go, my kids just love homeschooling. Well, mine didn't always love homeschooling. Okay. I mean, everything in life, some things are great and other things aren't. And it would be bliss as well. So let's do this. Where are we? Holly James, you have just won another copy of our, I'm writing these names down, of our two prayer book, scriptures to pray for your kids and Don't Worry Scripture. So send me an email and tell me that you won that as well. All right, oh, that's why I didn't have that there. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Come on, thing. Okay, raising your, this is what I hope that you will walk away with, raising your kids to be lifetime learners who love learning with a great attitude for the rest of their lives. Plus, offering your kids freedom in their adult life and in your homeschool as well. Now, for some of you, you want a quick roadmap of exactly where you're going. So, we're going to talk about how the foundation to finish strong, 3 tips for moms homeschooling kids to finish strong, and the most important goal in homeschooling and how to achieve it as well. All right, let's talk about the foundation to finish strong. This was said in 1909. We want one class. Oh, as I read this, I would love for you to put something in the chat what you think liberal education means. Think about that as I'm reading. What is that? We want one class to have a liberal education. We want another class, a very much larger class of necessity, to forego the privilege with a liberal education and fit themselves to perform specific, difficult manual tasks. Oh my goodness, we got all sorts of things. It is not what I usually get. Holly James, good answer. Freedom, more freedom to pursue interests, child-led learning. I will say, you think about liberal, where does it come from? It comes from the word liberate, to liberate someone. And I'm not going to get into politics today, but we've just seen a weekend of liberation. Liberate means to free someone. And that's what a good education will do. It will free them from their teacher. They no longer are a servant and need a teacher to teach them everywhere thing because they have the tools of learning. That's the most important. We need to be giving our kids tools of learning. You cannot teach them everything they need to know in life. So part of a good liberal education will give them a tools of learning. And back then they said, we want most people are going to forego the privilege of a liberal education, a large class of them. It was the Industrial Revolution. They needed workers and they needed people that couldn't think, and they just needed people that would follow. And they began dumbing down our education back in 1909. Why? To do difficult, specific manual tasks. It is truly sad. It took decades to get there, but I really believe around the 50s and 60s, you started to see shifts in education that we had never seen before. It had started in Germany in the 1800s. Now, who said this? Woodrow Wilson, president of Princeton at the time, who became our president. And they were very deliberate in the type of education they wanted people to have. And that's what's happened here. So let's talk about how they do that. We've got 3 types of education. As I go through this, think about which one you would like for your kids. This is the conveyor belt education. All the kids get right here on station 1. They do all the same activities. They are tested the same way, and they go to station 2. All the same activities, tested the same way, 3. And they come all the way down 12 stations, and then they get a stamp of approval, and they're sent off to the market, the job market. That is what we teach. And unfortunately, we want to get away from that. And some of us are still doing that in our homeschool. Basically, it is teaching what to think. It is not teaching our kids how to think. It uses textbooks. A lot of public schools, maybe we have some rare cases, do this. And I personally wanted to hop off of that conveyor belt. And I want to help you so you'll know where you're headed and you can quit copying and quit comparing. It produces overwhelm. It is a 20th century curriculum, not a 2000 years curriculum that they've been using that were good. It develops compliant kids that just get the basics and not much thinking skills. The next one is a professional education, and this is where we teach our kids when to think. Think about it. You go to auto mechanic school and you learn when it goes clunk, 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 you do this. And then if you go to medical school, someone comes in and they're pointing at their throat and you do whatever you're called to do. Now I'm not comparing a car to a human being. I'm just saying it's a type of education. All right. But this develops kids that will become an expert and live to be able to retire, basically. And then the last one is leadership education. This is where we teach our kids how to think and they begin to take ownership. And we quit fighting the overwhelm in our homeschools. Most all people received this education up until about 100 years ago. Anyone in the Greek or Roman times, they could choose any man in the village to be a leader. They didn't have the same kind of voting ballots, and they would choose someone they were all qualified to lead well. And I think this also provides us a way to build trust with God, trust with each other as well. And so, which one of these would you like for your kids? Leave something in the chat as well. And as you're thinking, you're probably going, how in the world? Oh, well, there we go. I'm on the wrong slide. There we go. How do we do this? A leadership, a lot of people. With all that curriculum to complete, what if I mess up? Trying to balance life, family, homeschooling, work, and all that clutter around my home. I still need to cook, clean. I'm overwhelmed. Let's take a step back and think about this as a lifestyle. You can keep using some of the same curriculum or books that you're using. This is an approach. This is a lifestyle in parenting and in homeschooling as well. So, we want to get rid of the overwhelm. I want to help you rejuvenate your homeschool. But how does a generation who was not mentored in leadership education give this type of education to the next generation? That's you and me, most of us. So, how do you and I, who know that conveyor belt so well, give our kids a leadership education? That's what we're going to talk about. 3 tips to finish strong this year or finish your project, your class, your course, whatever. Let's look at tip number 1. Living books and ideas. Use real books. When I was in a public school, I was a public school teacher for 6 years. One of my goals always was to get a classroom set of a book, and we would read a real book all the way through, not use the reader that just gave us 2 chapters. I was a fifth grade teacher, and so we didn't have Dick and Jane back then, but we were past that. And so I truly wanted to use good books, classics. What do you think? When you heard the word classic, what do you think of? Put something in the chat and let me know what that is. Um, they are very different than a textbook. The textbook keeps you on that conveyor belt, but a classic can get you off the conveyor belt because a classic is something that endures over time. It's not just an old dusty book. Little House on the Prairie. That's a good girl's book as well. C.S. Lewis. There we go. It is something, and that every time you read it, it has something new to say. One of my favorite books is Pride and Prejudice. I read it this past year because it was in our book club, and I still always I'm like, oh yeah, I missed that. Oh, I read Anna Green Gables a few years ago, and the idea of forgiveness at the end and unforgiveness throughout. I mean, it just was vivid to me because of what I had walked through in life. And it does connect generations as well, tried and true. And I really think you can't say something's a classic right now. It needs to have, I think, had at least 100 years. What is the greatest classic of all time? The Bible. And feel free to put your favorite classic in the chat and y'all can share some ideas while I talk. Well, we did this as read alouds. And let me see, I think that's my next. Okay, there we go. We did this as read alouds, and we could do it all together as a family. So we could simplify, we get organized, and I could do this with multiple kids. And so we all listened to the same read aloud. We spent our morning time, we had family time for an hour. Won't go into the details, but the second 30 minutes was reading aloud. And so we read all sorts of books. I was just talking to my grandgirls who say they like historical fiction. And I was telling them, well, what about Johnny Tremaine? And what about Witch of Blackbird Pond? We were talking about Revolutionary War times as well. So this is one of my favorite ways to simplify your homeschool. Stop the overwhelm. All you have to do is pick the book up from wherever you left off and start reading, or get an audio book if you want to. And so simplify and get organized. And there's so many more things. I don't have time to go through all the ways you can use it. I talk about that in my course as well, but this can encourage thinking skills. You can ask questions. Now, I would don't read and stop every 3 minutes to ask a question. Charlotte Mason says, let your kids absorb it. You don't need to tell them what it means. Maybe at the end, have them narrate back to you or ask a question and see what they had to say. Don't interrupt the beauty of reading aloud by asking questions. So you can use this for copy work, narration, dictation, and thinking skills. Next idea is books, kids' interest. Why not? If your kids are fighting you, especially teens, let them study something they're interested in. The topic doesn't really matter. When Hunter was supposed to write in sixth or seventh grade a 5 paragraph paper about a person, I'm thinking, oh, Rome, we're studying Rome, Roman emperor. And he was like, okay, mom. He did not like history at all at the time. And so we went to bed the next morning. I was like, we just bought a baseball book on Derek Jeter. And I said, Hunter, what if you wrote on Derek Jeter? And so he did. He was much more interested in that. Do you think he learned how to write a 5 paragraph paper? Yes. Do you think he did a better job with Derek Jeter than a Roman emperor? Yes. Let your kids make some choices. Let them pursue something that they're interested in. They're going to learn a lot more when they're interested. And this produces self-education, lifetime learners. And it's really scary for some of you to let go. Type A people, that's me. But I let my kids make choices, especially in high school. But even in elementary school, we go to the library and they could choose a book as long as it didn't go against something that we believed. But I think that is so important. So books for interest and then a personal growth plan. What in the world is a personal growth plan? In high school, this is especially true. This is something that I do think focuses more on older kids. It gives you give your kids time to learn or read. Then you give them time to record, write down what they learn, and then they apply quickly what they learn by talking about it. This is what I call, okay, our read, write, discuss 3-step method. And this can be done in any subject and any subject. It can be done around the dinner table. It can be done with the Bible. It can be done with a movie. It can be done with your read aloud. That's where I recommend starting because it's a lot easier for you than trying to read a bunch of books and everyone's reading the same book. But every day, my kids would read and then they'd write one page in their reading journal. One page is all. And then once a week we would discuss it. And that was it. And the writing was not graded. It was just to get ideas out of their head and onto paper. And I believe this is what encourages independent learning. How could you use this 3-step process to finish the school strong? This gives you freedom. I've been talking about freedom a lot. It gives you freedom to study anything and follow your values. One of our homeschool moms that took Raising Leaders, Shelley, said, I didn't see the value of discussion. I didn't like it. I thought you could just read a book and get what you get. I discovered how discussions with any book, even the Bible, a newspaper, a movie, can educate my kids. And then she told me, my mindset changed after taking your course. I appreciate the role that you have taken in mentoring me through your leadership course. So, those are just some things that you should consider. These are important concepts. We don't need tests. We don't need, um, I don't know, multiple choice, true, false, all that. We need our kids to start thinking. And if you let them choose in their interest, then they're going to be more likely to read it, to write about it, and to discuss it. So, tip number one, living books and ideas. Tip number two, we sort of talked about this, but we're going to dive a little deeper into it, and that is modeling and mentoring. Remember, we talked about modeling. You do most of the work, they watch. Teaching, sort of half and half, and coaching. They're doing most of the work, and you're just coaching them along the way. I believe the first place that you need to start modeling and mentoring is in the idea of character. And you may be going, yeah, but they got to learn biology and they got to learn, I don't know, Pythagorean theorem. Well, Warren Bennis, who I don't know is a Christian or not, said this: successful leadership is not about being tough or soft, sensitive or assertive, but about a set of attributes. First and foremost is character. First and foremost is character. So, how do we do this? I personally believe that we use the Bible. Put it on God's shoulders. I've even, when I've had to babysit the last 2 weekends in two different places, but you know what? We talked, I was like, does God really want you to do that? What do you think God would say is true about this situation? Put it on his shoulders, all right? And pray, 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 pray. God is going to work in your heart, and you believe that. So we need to believe that God will work in your kids' heart. Yes, we need to change their behavior, but deep down, we need to change their heart. And so I believe that it's really important that we go back to scripture. One of the resources we offer are these following God charts. And there's three of them. This is make peace. This is argue. There's a verse about it. And then you write down right here what happens. And then if they're arguing, go over there, read that verse, and here's what happens, whatever your family decides. And then there's 6 character qualities here, 6 different ones on 2 more charts. This to me is one of the easiest ways to take it out of our hands, to decide ahead of time, and you're not having to come up with some consequence or blessing. And I think it's just as important that we give blessings here as we do consequences as well. Um, Prayer and scripture together can change your family. I wish we read the Bible a lot. I wished I had prayed more. It wasn't that I didn't pray, I just prayed a little differently. I'm praying for my grandkids differently than I was praying for them as well. And if y'all didn't get to hear the kickoffs from last week, I would encourage you to go back and listen. We talked a whole lot about that, as Alexandra said, breaking chains already since we applied this from last week. So that's exciting. Character to me is the foundation um, that goes along with foundation for parenting, basically. Next, oh, it didn't turn. A love of learning for life. Well, let me ask you a question. What is a love of learning? Put something in the chat. When I look at that picture, I'm like, they are having a blast. And they probably can learn a whole bunch of things about gourds and pumpkins and seeds and everything, and maybe go home and go cook some pumpkin pie or something. Love of learning. My first question to you is, do you love learning? Do your kids see you loving learning? You need to model your love for learning. Curious throughout the years, that's a good answer. Um, I love to learn, and my kids knew it. And I didn't say, "Hey, kids, remember, Mom loves learning." Hunter was going over to a new friend's house. We had moved to Idaho, and to get into this house, you go through the dad's library to get into the rest of the house. And it is an octagonal shaped library, floor to ceiling shelves of books, desk with books, coffee table with books, books on the floor, books by the couch, books everywhere. And Hunter walks in and goes, "My mom would love this room." Well, Steve and I go pick him up about 3 hours later, and I walk in and I say, "Oh, I love this room." And they all start laughing at me. And I'm like, "Really? Seriously?" And they said, "That's exactly what Hunter said." Are you modeling that you enjoy learning? And if you don't love learning, don't expect your kids to love learning as well. I think this goes back again to letting kids choose the topics, and coaching them in when you allow them, that lets them take ownership, lets them become independent learners, and there's less for you to organize because they're making some choices as well. A love of learning gives your children freedom as they grow up to learn whatever they need to learn as a future leader. And our kids are going to go in different directions. They all have different callings. Allow them to pursue that as well. And then finally, thinking and decision making skills. Are you reading and growing in your own education? Are you scrolling your phone? How can you give kids a leadership education if you didn't receive one? You're going to have to hop off the conveyor belt and become a self-educated mom or dad. For me, oh, here, let's read this first. Charlotte Mason says there is no education but self-education. I mean, you can make your kids memorize and learn things, but true education comes from within because they want to learn as well. And that's what Charlotte Mason was all about. For me, I would get up before the rest of the world in my household and my family. I would go for a walk. A lot of times that was a prayer walk. Then I would come home, I'd read my Bible, and then whatever book we were reading in high school at the time, I would read it and I would write one page in my personal reading journal. I was learning and educating myself as well. And so I think it's important that you do that. This self-education allows you freedom, again, to follow your family's priorities and lifestyles. Just being here is a sign of self-education. So congratulations. Now, isn't it exciting when you finally see how this all comes together? Character building, love of learning, and thinking skills from the youngest to the oldest. Give me a yes in the chat. Let me get my chat scrolling. Um, I love this. Cherry said something to me because she took our course years and years ago when it's been much improved since there. She said there's little to nothing available in the area of education with practical application for homeschooling parents to mentor their children. And I want to read what she wrote. I felt like a lone horse on a deserted trail. Everyone else that I know that homeschools is on the conveyor belt to keep up with the public education counterpart. Thank you for being a voice in the desert that will give guidance to us many lone horses that are headed your way. I don't know, I just thought, wow, never really heard about that, but that was sort of encouraging. And we got all sorts of answers, yes. Okay, Valerie, you have just won our prayer book as well. So send me your email address and I will send those to, or my assistant will as well. Okay, let's get to tip number 3, relationships over productivity. Relationships over checklists. Now, I am not opposed to having a checklist as long as I'm making the checklist and I'm not waiting and listening for a curriculum to give me a checklist as well. So, trying to get to the bottom of the chats. How do we get everything done if we don't have a checklist or if we're not worried about productivity? You see, American education has been very successful. They just have a different goal than you and me. Our goal is to truly educate, inspire, and give our kids the tools of learning. Theirs is productivity. They just needed workers, people that would follow, and they are very good at that. So I believe that it's not productivity oriented. It's not a checklist mentality, and we don't compare ourselves to others as well. It's not adding more to your schedule, more activities, more curriculum. This is a mindset shift. It is a perspective shift. And that's hard sometimes. One of my other students, Laura, said, I probably will botch this, but she said, you changed my mindset, and my kids are loving their new teacher, meaning her. They had the same person. It's just her whole perspective was different when it came to homeschooling. And she had begun to take a Raising Leaders course. Now, so we need to change our mindset. To finish strong, I think you've got to change your perspective of homeschooling. It's not a list of subjects to check off. It's looking at your whole child, each one of them, and seeing what's best for them. Yes, that's where we all need help. Isn't that true, Valerie? So let's talk about this first. Relax. Take a breath. Seriously. I think this is like if you're upset about something or it's just going crazy, take a breath. When my grandkids get upset, they're crying, I'm like, just take a breath. Take another breath. Take another breath. Breathing. There's just something, I wouldn't say magical, I'd say it's sort of supernatural. Relax and take a breath. Just taking a breath can stop the stress, that oxygen coming inside as well. And so take a breath and relax. You are not going to be able to teach them everything that they need to know. The next thing, and actually, this is in our sermon yesterday, rest, like actual rest, get some sleep. But I think even more importantly, rest in the Lord to help you make wise decisions, to help your kids make wise decisions. That's again, that's something we teach our teenagers in leadership is 7 different strategies to make wise decisions as well, to rest in the Lord. And that means we have to have faith and trust. And it's not in a book, it's not in a curriculum, it's not in ourselves, it's not your spouse. It is trusting him to show you what to do. And if you did listen to those kickoffs, if you're unsure about all of this, you are believing a lie. And you need to get rid of that lie and give a truth that will replace the lie in your head. And if you're believing that academics is the most important, I'm going to challenge you relationship and go find a parenting verse. If you're thinking you're not enough, then I would say I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Whatever the lie is inside your head, you need to replace it with truth and say it out loud for at least 30 days. And that is starting to rest in the Lord. And then finally, relationships over productivity. Here I go again. I probably should call this class Freedom Class. Freedom. It gives you opportunities to grow your future leaders. It gives you opportunities to follow and study the things that you're most interested in or that are important to your family. If current events are important, you can take the time to do that. Because one, you're building relationships with your kids as you study together, as you learn together as well. Oh, here's Laura. I wrote down something that she had said. She just said, I'm learning that what I originally thought was the ideal, perfect way to homeschool was quite flawed. And perfection isn't the goal. Allowing God to work in and through the lives of her children and knowing when to get out of the way and let God work in her kids was a learning process for Laura, as well as trusting God to guide her as a mom and a homeschool mom. She said, thank you for sharing your experiences and the experience of your children as well. I'm thankful that I discovered this on my homeschool journey as well. And so I really do think this is a mindset shift. And sometimes it's not that easy, but it is vital. It is so, so important. All right. So here are our 3 tips as well. I've got something in the way of this. There we go. Living books and ideas, modeling and mentoring, relationship education over productivity education. Which one of these, I mean, you may need all 3 of them, I don't know, but which one of these would be most helpful in your homeschool to finish strong? Put something in the chat as well. And as you do, I'm going to be watching Rest in the Lord. Isn't that the truth? Huh? Rest in the Lord and wait patiently for Him. It's that rest, trust, and rest really, the word for rest, there's different ones, but wait on the Lord. The word wait, hope, rest, and trust for one of those words can be translated any of those. And I just am all interacting in between all of those as well. Well, right now, I have a question for you. Would you like me to help you gain confidence and freedom to give your children a Christian education with leadership skills? You have 2 options. You can try to create a Christian leadership education, but you'll run the risk of being in the same place this time next year with a big open loop and no plan to give your children that better education that you want for them. Or you can 100% commit to focusing on Christian leadership education with a proven plan. And I want to introduce to you, it's a course that I redid a few years ago, but it's what I used when I finally felt like I was following God and giving my kids a good education. It really is the only leadership education, of course, from a Christian perspective. It'll show you exactly how to build godly character, lifetime learners who can think critically, biblically, and make wise decisions as they glorify and honor Jesus Christ. Now, I'm going to go quickly through these next few slides. If y'all have any questions, again, put them in the chat. But I'm not going to read all of that. You can just skim it right now, but there's a lot, and that's just a tip of the iceberg. How to simplify your life as a homeschool mom, develop communication, change your mindset to feel confident. That is really what this first model is all about. I can get to where I wrote. Five-step formula for Christian leadership education. This is all about mindset shift, giving you the clarity and a path to walk on. It is a fast track to being intentional with the direction God wants you to take from kindergarten to 12th grade. It is to give your kids a personalized education. Module 2, character is foundation. I sound like a broken record. This is we're going to talk about the number one most important quality a leader must have and how to help dump the bad attitude and begin afresh with the new attitude. How to inspire your kids to love learning and absolutely nail it. I think we have 17 strategies to inspire your kids to love learning. Module 4, the tools of learning that make lifetime learners. So you can jump off that conveyor belt, the public school system, discover the tools of learning that have been used for centuries, all the way back to before Christ. I mean, these were used in ancient Greece and Roman times as well. They're thinking skill tools. All right. And then module 5, oh, here we go, thinking skills for leaders. How to help, we're using that read, write, discuss, but we will dig deep into that. How to help your kids write about a book when they have no idea what to write. How to not lecture so they become interested in the book or the topic. How to stimulate discussions even if you don't have an English degree. And then the last one is graduating kids with decision-making skills. These are 7 secrets to share with your teens so they can make wise decisions. I recommend moms go through this first, and then if you have teenagers, then go through it with them together as well. I will say, if you've got little kids, this is something you can start at the beginning and then keep this for life, and you can grow into these other modules. The other thing we have are 3 weeks of group live coaching. There's actually 4 group live coaching ones. If you can master these skills, where would you and your kids be a year from now? Put something in the chat if you think that, what would happen? How would this help you as well? Rose Gray just said, one of the benefits I love about Carrie's courses is a lifetime access. Now I can go back to the course at any time and re-watch the videos. Now, the value of it is $197, but we also have several bonus gifts. This is help for the harried homeschooler. These are printables, schedules, lists, helps for you to raise leaders. I do offer a money back guarantee, but only for serious action takers. So if you decide that you want to give the course a try, that's what I recommend. Before you've got to try it out. You can't just buy it and then say, I don't want it. You've got to at least try to put this into practice. And if within 14 days of getting the course that's still not working, you just let me know and we will refund your money. We're going to give you a classic book list for those of you that aren't sure what classics are. Here we have 3 different levels, children, teenage, and adult. We're going to give you lifetime access. Here's what Laura said. Racing leaders, not followers, completely changed my mindset, my routine, and my kiddos are loving their new teacher. And then this is where it all started. Raising Leaders ebook set. I wrote this book, Racing Leaders, Not Followers. And it goes through the whole idea of leadership education, character building, love of learning, and then transitioning into independent learning. Then we had this book, Teach Your Children How to Think with Mentoring. And that goes through the whole read, write, discuss, and it talks about internships, college, that type of thing. And then this one, Hop Off the Conveyor Belt. This is only available in our course. And these are real life tips and tricks that moms use to hop off the conveyor belt as well. Oh, there's my risk-free guarantee. I started talking about it a little too soon. All right. The other thing Holly said, she says there's lots of hints if you're trying to implement this with several children as well. So there's the whole course. It's worth all of that, but I have some more bonuses. Here's our 4 weeks of live coaching. We are going to start next Monday. It is a getting started coaching. And the reason I do it is it's in before the 14 days are up. I want you to see what group coaching is like so that you can see what to expect. Now, we don't have it every week because that would overwhelm you. We do 2 weeks of modules and then we take a break because you need time to implement. And that's when our group coaching is. And then 2 modules, break, 2 modules, break. But next Monday, we're going to get started and I'm going to give you tips and tricks to get going. I originally didn't include this when I first did this course, but I had someone that was sort of confused about everything. It's probably one of my very best favorite students, I guess. She was so skeptical. She thought, this is a hoax. I'm not going to do this. Her name's Helen. She lives in England. And so she kept asking me, I said, well, how about we just get on a group coaching call at the end of the week? And so we did. And she showed up for every group coaching. She said the most valuable part of your course were the videos and the group coaching. Her last group coaching, she was the only one there. So she had individual coaching. And so I just love interacting and being able to answer your questions as well. All right, the next thing we have is quit trying to homeschool, start training for success. I'm trying. No, we're going to train for success. You get this instantly. If you invest today, you can get that right now today and get started. And then Andrew, y'all all loved Andrew last week from copy work to composition. All about writing. Writing's a really hard subject for a lot of people to teach. He's going to give you some ideas on that. And so, and we don't give you everything all at once. Again, you would be overwhelmed. So we're going to give you this one on March 24th. You've got the training one that you get this week. Wait a couple weeks, you'll get the 24th. And then I have 7 homeschool scheduling tricks. If you have a hard time managing time, staying organized, this is for you. We'll talk about daily, weekly, and annual schedules. It's an audio, and I think there's a handout to go along with it as well. Now, if you decide to invest, it's really a 24-hour fast action bonus. So if you invest in the first 24 hours, I wasn't really going to do this because I love this course and I sell a lot of them. And I was like, maybe that'll take away from your sales, but I know you are serious and I want to help you. And these are just some fun things that you can do from now to Easter to be able to prepare your hearts for Easter and celebration and Holy Week. This is a Skies of the Cross family Bible study. We've got videos, it's something you do as a family, and you look at the blood moon and there's science and there's history and there's Bible, and it's so cool. And then we've got our Holy Week Bible pack, Easter hands-on crafts and snacks, 5 Easter prep video trainings, Easter writing prompts, sort of lost the bullet point there, and 209 fun family Easter activities worth $115. Now, there it all is. And I know that some of y'all are like, no way, Carrie, there is no way. And I know you are serious. It is that good, but I also know that you're serious. So we do want to do something for you. And we are going to I'm going to offer this to you with all the bonuses. You can pay $25 today to get started. It's an 8-month payment plan. Or if you want to pay it all in one fee, you can pay it for $197. Just go to howtohomeschoolmychild.com /RLNF. Sorry, I was looking at it to see what it is. RLN 26. I forgot the 26. Anyway, there it is if y'all are interested in doing that. If you decide to pay it all up, I have a bonus for you. If you pay one time, and this is Drama-Free Mom Bundle. When I first started this about 4 or 5 years ago, I had my founding members. They were our first ones. They signed up before the course was ready. And Diane was one of those people. And she said, Carrie, I already have that bundle, but we were talking about what would be a good bonus. And she said, it would be really good for your moms. It helped me so much. It quickly changed my public school mindset and daily routines to make my family's weekly homeschool schedule run a lot smoother. You'll get my ebook, and then you've got 2 videos and 1 audio to help you get going on there as well. Then, if you decide you want to invest right this second before we get off and answer questions, I'm going to give you a $10 Amazon gift card. Yes, you can still find things for $10. Buy a classic book. Use the publisher Dover. They have lots of books under $10. Start critical thinking. Buy a classic book to start your own education. Find a fun learning toy. Find your next read aloud. But if you decide to sign up here, I'm going to give you a $10 Amazon gift card. So there's the whole package, and it's a lot, okay? Diane, who was from Classical Scholar, she said, Carrie packs the ebooks with tons of practical ideas for implementing a leadership education. Grab a highlighter or pen, begin to make specific notes of how you'll raise leaders, not followers. And I forgot to tell you, this is one of my another favorite story with Angie. Angie homeschooled during COVID and said, never again. I am never ever I can't do this. I'm ready to send those kids back to school, but one of them did not want to go back to school. And there were some real reasons. And she said, okay, I guess I can do it if I did it once. She said, it was a God thing that I found you. Your course made it possible for me to keep homeschooling. I did not want to do it at all. And yet you gave me what I needed to be able to homeschool and change my mindset and build relationships with my sons as well. So, but maybe you're thinking, I can create my own plan. And I hear you. That's where I was back in 2000. How was it? 2002, one, something like that. It took years, I mean, years to formulate that plan. I want you to rest assured that the steps we offer in raising leaders take you by the hand from kindergarten to 12th grade. Or maybe you're thinking, I just can't spend the money. And I understand, especially in these times of uncertainty, especially with the economy up and down. And I'd like you to just consider things. I normally don't offer my payment plans till later in the week, but I think this is such an important course. And I know it can change you because I have so many moms and I haven't even said everything. You go to that webpage and you will read the other moms that learned and did this as well and how it's changed their lives. But I was like, for $25 a month, most of us don't go out to eat once a month and use that money to invest in your children's future and invest in building relationships and changing your mindset and investing in your own education as well. Or you may be thinking, it's probably a lot of fluff. Let me tell you, it's changed so much. Before this course, it was 12 weeks. It was way too much stuff. I have cut it down to what is essential because I know you're busy and you're overwhelmed, and I want to reduce that. And we're just going to go over what is essential to give your kids a better education, to hop them off that conveyor belt, what to think, and move them over to how to think for themselves as well. So there we go. And you can get it for $25 starting today, right now, or you can get the whole thing. If you pay the whole price as well, you are welcome to, you will get that extra bonus as well. So, do y'all have questions? I was looking, sorry, sometimes I've got my head in the notes and I can't keep everything. Holly says, what a great bundle and learning by memorization and regurgitation. I think this would help move from box curriculum to more freedom and less attitudes. Valerie, I really do think so. Um, I would say some of these things like reading aloud, we've been reading aloud since kids were little. And even before we started homeschooling, we were reading aloud in the evening times as well. But I definitely think that there's so many things that I was doing, but I didn't really get all the intention and everything. All right, I do have a few questions already submitted. So let me just answer those. Um, let me see, where was it? I'm going to be out of town one week. Will I get too far behind? No, because you will have everything and you will have lifetime access and you can actually go back and listen. You can still come to the group coachings, which I think will be helpful. Another one, do I have to buy now? You don't have to buy now, you don't have to buy today, but you do have to buy before the end of the week. And here's my reason, and here's the reason we do this. I I'm going to work with you. And so we've got group coaching, and I want everyone to have gone through the same information and be on the same page. So what we do is if I have people coming and going and no one knows, you're asking me a question about module 7 and someone else just started, we want to all have covered the same information. So this is our spring class, you could say. And so we will go through this together. And I said it, but it may not make a lot of sense. But week 1, you'll get module 1. Week 2, you'll get module 2. So you don't even have to worry about week 7. And then week 3 is implementation. You can catch up if you're behind, or you can implement. I strongly encourage you to only choose one thing to implement. That is the week of um, our group coaching. It is also the week that one of your extra bonuses will land. So they will come out on a group coaching implementation week. Week 4, module 3, week 5, module 4. And then the next week, implementation. And then the next week, module 5, what did I say, 3 and 4, break, 5 and 6, and then the last break as well. Excuse me. So you need to, if you're going to do this, you need to order by the end of this week as well. Will I be able to ask you questions if I get stuck? You certainly can. And you will be able to, there's a form in your emails that you'll get about the course, and you can just go in there and enter your questions, or you can just show up live during our group coaching, and I'll be answering whatever questions you have as well. And the other thing about group coaching is someone else may have another idea, and maybe they've just done it, and it was 5 years ago when I was dealing with that issue. Gotta go. Thank you for some helpful information. You are welcome. Um, and then here's another question. What else do I need to buy to see results with raising leaders, not followers? You really don't have to buy anything else. What you will do, this has everything you need as far as the course is concerned. You will need to uh, have books, real books, but you can go to the library. So that's great, but you can buy them too. It's up to you. And the only other thing I would say is if your kids are going to do some hands-on reading supplies, you would need some notebooks, like for your reading journal, but you can just go get a spiral notebook for $1. I go to the Dollar Tree and I get craft supplies there, or Walmart, or wherever you buy your craft supplies. That would be really the only extra things. Other than that, the information is all right there. And you can really do a lot of courses with books. I have to tell you a story. Andrew Puda this was years ago because his kids are all grown and have kids of their own. But he had a child that was going to go through biology. And he said, okay, it was September. I want you to go through the textbook and I want you to find 9 topics that you're interested in. So she took a week and wrote her 9 topics. He said, okay, put the book away. I want you to take topic 1, and we're going to the library, and I want you to find some books on this topic. You're going to study it, and then you're going to write about it as well. And they continued every month for 9 months. Did she learn everything about biology? No. Does anyone ever learn everything about biology? No. Do you think she learned more because she was interested in it and because she studied it and she used real books, not textbooks, contrived books? Yeah, of course. So you can use real books, believe it or not. Okay. Any other questions that you need to send in? Oh, here's the last. Oh, how long will it take to get through the program? If you go on time, I would say in 9 weeks. Is that right? You will have finished the whole program. Hopefully, you'll keep using it, but it may be too much for you to do right now, and so you may get a little behind. So you can take as long as you want because you've got lifetime access as well. So, anything else? Let me just look. Total change, more books. I have to get away from thinking a checklist. That is so true. And I am a checklist person, but I like to make my own checklist. Okay, and have a little flexibility and add some freedom. Well, thank y'all for spending time with me. Let me know if you have any questions. I look forward to seeing some of you on Monday in our first group coaching. It's going to be great. And again, remember, you could actually, I've never done this before, $25. And so I hope some of y'all will take advantage of that 8-time pay, $25. And that's less than I've ever made the 8-time pay, payment plan. It's always been a little bit more than that. All right. Y'all have a great day, and we will talk to you next time.